I've gotten a lot of questions on what made me decide to do a podcast. And I'll be honest with you, it's something that's completely out of my comfort zone and I never really thought about doing. I listened to a lot of podcasts, but I never thought of doing one of my own. And I kept getting requests from my followers for more content and different kinds of content. And when I would post anything about my background or my accident or any of the components that were real and were hard for me to post, I would get a lot of responses to how it deeply resonated with people and how it was helpful for them to hear my story because they had their own traumas that they were dealing with. So I started thinking about doing a podcast. And I was like, okay, what do I know enough about to even podcast on? I mean, I'm not a huge sports fan. I love true crime, but I feel like there's so many true crime podcasts out there that what can I do that would uniquely add anything? There's so many mommy ones, and I'm not a girl out there living my best hot girl summer life, sleeping around or having great dating stories. And so I was like, okay, what is it that I know enough about that I can share? And I realized that what I know a lot about is taking trauma and turning it into something constructive, using it as a tool, a launch pad even, for greatness. And over again in my life, anytime I'm handed a situation that's ugly or harsh or that's difficult, I use it as a springboard for something better. And I thought, okay, the commonality that I see over and over again is that successful people often have deep trauma in their background. And I realized that maybe there was an opportunity there to help share those stories, give people an opportunity to open up about the challenges that they face, because putting that truth out there is incredibly freeing. I am so grateful that I learned the gift of letting go of the secrets. And when you put your truth out there, it takes a lot of the weight out of it. It takes the pain out of it because it can't really weigh you down any longer when you put your truth out there. Growing up in a childhood of abuse and neglect, I was deeply ashamed of that. I was the dirty kid growing up. I was the hungry kid. I was the kid that I remember going to one of my very first overnights. And I was in first or second grade. I was little. And I realized now how little I was. And the mom got pizza. And there was enough pizza that you could have as much as you want. And it was the best thing I think I had ever eaten. And I was starving. And I don't think I'd ever had an opportunity to eat as much pizza as I wanted. And so I threw down. And I can remember the mom being so condescending and disgusted. And I knew that she was disgusted, but I didn't know why. And then I talked with her daughter later, and her daughter was like, "You were gross. The way that you ate, and the fact that you ate so much, that was gross." And it shocked me. I had no idea. I just was like losing myself in this incredible experience and amazed that I had the opportunity to eat as much as I possibly wanted. It wasn't something that usually happened in my world. And to realize the fact that it wasn't acceptable, not only was it not acceptable, but that it was off-putting, it hit deep, it hurt. And I realize now that, that wasn't my hurt to carry. The fact that my father abused me, and I've got so many stories that as the interviews happen, I've shared pieces here and there, but the point remains the fact that I grew up feeling as if it was my shame to carry because I was constantly told, if you tell anybody, your dad's going to get in trouble. If you're open with anybody, he hits you, he kicks you, he beats you because you're bad. And so if you tell people, not only will they know how bad you are, but then they will take you away and put you with someone who's worse than we are. And so I carried that. I can't remember, it was that same school that I was at. So first or second grade, I had a teacher approach me, and I realized in retrospect what she was looking for was to prove her assumption that I was being abused. at the time, I felt like she was being invasive and she was trying to find out how bad of a kid I was. And so I knew I had to lie and cover that up because the last thing I needed was for a teacher to know. It's bad enough that my parents know how bad I am and how unlovable I am. But for a teacher to know was a whole other level. And so she took me to the school nurse. They both sat and talked with me. I don't know whatever happened of it. I don't know if they reported it or not. At the time, I thought that they were trying to judge how bad of a kid I was. But those types of experiences build shame in someone. And I carried that for a long time. I hid my background. I was so desperate to be loved that I would create this facade of who I was in hopes that that person would be lovable. And when I had my accident, it completely tore away that entire facade. I couldn't carry it any longer. It was no longer something that I could even maintain a little bit of. And it cost me some of my closest friendships. It cost me my relationship with my mother. Once I was not able to just excuse things and brush them under the rug, but I felt the need to actually address them. My mother, I said to her point blank, look, we need to work together in therapy to fix this if we're going to have a relationship going forward. And my mother told me point blank, that sounds like too much effort. That sounds hard. And when a parent tells you that, it's hard to hear. It's brutal to be told that rather than doing the work to heal the relationship they have with you, that they're just going to step away and not have any engagement at all. But I can't judge her for that. She had to make the right choice for her, and all I can own is my role in that, which is that I need to have healthy interactions in my life, and people that aren't committed to maintaining that same level of healthy don't have space in my life. I can't continue to pull myself down to make space for people. And the secret benefit in all of that is that it has freed me to elevate so much further than I thought I could. I'm so much healthier. I'm so much happier of a person now. I'm in so much better of a place. I have finally figured out how to create and hold strong boundaries, which has been freeing because growing up in the environment that I did, I used to look for the things that were my role in that and how I had let people down and how that created whatever the dynamic was. And now I realize that it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how hard I work or how much I push myself into a small box. If someone's committed to maintaining a unhealthy relationship, it's not going to change that. It's going to continue to be an unhealthy relationship no matter how little or how big I make myself. And so the biggest gift that I have learned is to be myself, and the right people will come into my life and stay, and the wrong people never would have stayed anyway. And so you have to let them go with an open hand. I love the old proverb of how do you hold water? If you're constantly grabbing at water and trying to hold it with a closed hand, it's going to slip away. But if you open your hand and give water a place to rest, it will stay with you. And relationships are a lot like that. If you're constantly grabbing hold and hold them as tightly as you can, they're going to crumble and they're going to fall away. But if you hold an open hand and you let the right relationships fall into place and stay, it's beautiful what you'll find out about yourself, but also what relationships will come and settle into place and have a resonating place with you. And that was a big one for me because I used to work so hard to make relationships last. And I would go so far above and beyond to create space for something that no longer fit me. But I had a hard time letting that be. So it's been a process. It's been a journey. I've learned a ton about myself, and I now own it openly and share it openly. And I hope with this podcast that I'm going to give others the same opportunity, that opportunity to be open and honest about who they are, what space they hold, and give them the opportunity to stand in that truth. And likewise, give others the opportunity to see people standing in their truth so that if they're not yet at that place, they can see that they're not alone. That's the biggest thing I've realized is that, we are a society of people who are looking for connection. And the easiest way that I have found to connect is to stand in my truth and let the right people come and resonate and meet me where I am. There's a great old Apache proverb, and I've seen it written many ways, but the sentiment is this: we each walk our own path alone, and we are the only ones that can choose what path we're going to walk. Every single day, you wake up and you make a choice of what path you're going to walk, and no one can make that choice for you. People can influence it, but long term, it's your choice as to who you bring to any given day, and you can change that path at any time. At any moment in life, you can say, you know what, this doesn't serve me any longer. I'm doing something different. But we each choose what path we walk, and people will come into your path, and their path will converge with yours. And some of them are going to stay just a moment, and then they're going to veer off. Some of them are going to come, and they're going to last a little bit longer, and then they're going to start to veer off. And some of them are going to come, and their paths are going to follow yours for your entire lifetime. And you may have little dips and comebacks together, but people that are meant to be with you your entire lifeline are going to be there. And you have to let that be. When it's someone's time to veer off into a different path, you need to be strong enough in yourself to follow your own path and let it go. And remember them with love, remember them with acceptance, remember them with appreciation for the time that you were together, and look to see if there's a lesson there that you can learn from your path together. But the worst thing that you can do is to follow them when they go this way, or to try to grab a hold of them as they go away, because all that's going to do is it's going to hurt you in the long run. It's not going to save that relationship. It's not going to make it any stronger. All it does is it prevents you from following your own natural path. And I love that, because when friendships, when love, when parental relationships, when any relationship starts to veer away, if you're so busy grabbing hold, trying to hold it, it prevents you from following your own natural path. And for a long time, I was one that when it went that way, I did my best to align because I was terrified of being abandoned. I had been abandoned by my parents. I now know that I was born out of wedlock. And not only was I born out of wedlock, but that my father never really wanted me. On his deathbed, I asked him the question, and I had always known the answer. Somewhere deep down inside, I always knew. And he wasn't kind with his words. He was incredibly abusive. He was volatile. And I was usually the recipient of all that. And it always kind of sat with me on some level that he hadn't wanted me. But on his deathbed, I asked him, I said, when I was born, did you want to be a parent? And he looked at me, and here he was, this emaciated figure in the bed, so weak, and had always been someone that I was so afraid of and that I carried so much reverence for, because in my entire life, all I had wanted was for him to love and accept me. And my mother, when the two people that are your parents don't really care for you or show love or acceptance for you, it's hard. Those are the people that are supposed to love you unconditionally out of anyone on earth. So when they don't, it's hard to learn to love yourself. And that's been a process for me. I've had to learn that. But he was laying there weak and tiny in the bed, and he looked over at me and he said, Caroline, I never really wanted to be a parent, but I never had a choice. Your mother stopped taking her birth control, and I had no idea you were even a thing until you were on the way and she was pregnant. And that broke my heart. I won't lie, that was hard to hear. But it was also freeing because in that moment, he gave me the gift of saying, you know, it doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter who you were. It doesn't matter how accomplished you were or what you did in life. You could work your tail off and be the most successful executive. You can live in $1 million home. You can have the nicest car in the world. None of that matters because I never wanted you, and I was stuck with being a parent when that wasn't a path that I chose. And as heartbreaking as that was to hear, it also freed me from the constant effort of trying to earn his love and trying to deserve it. And so he's gone now, and it took me time to make peace with that. But now that I have made peace with it, it's a gift that I offer to you, which is be your true self and the true you, whatever that is. The kindness and the love and the joy that you have inside that you've been holding yourself back from. Lean into that and lean into the pain. The pain is part of the process. So let it breathe, let it out. And that process of letting it out will free you. It will also enable you to be the best version of yourself. And the people that are meant to be in your life, they will be. They will elevate with you. They will be drawn to your elevation. And the ones that aren't weren't ever meant to stay anyway. No matter how little you make yourself, no matter how much of yourself you hold back, the people that aren't made to be in your life aren't going to stay no matter what you do. And that's true for any relationship, even parents. My father wasn't made to be in my life. He was forced into a role he didn't want. He took it out on me as much as he could. And once I removed his influence in my life, I grew and flourished. And that's all I could do. I can't change the choices he made. I can't change the choices my mother made. All I can do is send them love and wish them the best and be thankful for the fact that they gave me a life. And, I'm thankful for what he said to me on his deathbed. So yes, those are the types of things that I'm going to share in this podcast. I'm going to give other people the opportunity to share their truths and what they've learned from it. We're going to do a lot of leading into how we take those challenges and build on them and make something amazing. Because anyone that's accomplished great things has overcome so much challenge and so much pain in life. And I thank you for being here with me today. I hope that you enjoy this. If you know of anyone that you think I should have on the podcast to interview, let me know. You can go to carolinesadventure.com. That's Caroline with 2 A's, adventure.com. And you can submit their name there and I'll reach out to them. And if I share something that really hits you or resonates with you or that frees you, let me know. I love that stuff because it helps me know that I'm on the right path and that I'm doing something that's helpful. So sending you so much love today. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope that you enjoyed this little peek into what we're doing with this podcast. Thank you so much for being here.